Welcome to the Effortless English Show with the world's #1 English teacher, AJ Hogue, where AJ's more than 40 million students worldwide finally learn English once and for all, without the boring textbooks, classrooms, and grammar drills. Here's AJ with a quick piece to help you learn to speak fluent English effortlessly.
I'm AJ Hogue, the author of Effortless English. Learn to speak English like a native. You must join my VIP program. You just try it. You can try it for $1. That's 10 days for $1 just to try it. But, of course, to get the results, to speak fluently, speak powerfully, speak English confidently, and speak English effortlessly, you commit to my VIP program at effortlessenglishclub.com. Go to effortlessenglishclub.com today. Sign up for my VIP program. I'm talking about standing tall, standing out, standing tall. And why and how this helps you be successful in your personal life and in your job or your career, and definitely in business. And I will also read a little section from a marketing book. I'm going to recommend a really, really good marketing book for you. A really good marketing book that certainly anyone with a business or who wants to start a business or already has a business, you should get this book and read it. If you work in marketing or you work in business, even for someone else as an employee, get the book. I recommend, even if you're doing job searches, a lot of the ideas in this book could help you get a job, and I'll talk about how. So let's get into it. All right. Welcome, first of all. Good to see you. Let's get into it. So how to stand out and stand tall. Stand out. To stand out means that to be noticed is what it really means. You stand out, right? If you don't stand out, so this is one of those little idioms. It's a phrasal verb, obviously, 2-word verb, but it has the meaning to stand out. If you say he stands out, what does that mean? It just means that he is noticeable. It means to be noticeable, right? So if we talk about the opposite, the negative, if you say he doesn't stand out much, he doesn't stand out, it means he's not noticeable. And guys, comments in English, please. Thank you. 1 second. All right, so it means to be noticeable. He doesn't stand out much. He's not noticeable. So he looks like everybody else, right? If you see, imagine a crowd. You have a group of people. It's 100 people. Okay. And everybody's wearing a white shirt. Everyone's wearing a white shirt. And one person has on a green shirt. Well, that one person will stand out, right? Because you'll notice them. Everybody else is wearing a white shirt. The one green shirt will be very noticeable, right? So we'll say the green shirt stands out in the crowd. The green shirt stands out. And of course, the opposite would also be true. The opposite would be true as well, where if you had, 99 people in green shirts, one person in a white shirt, then the white shirt would stand out, right? So being different, how do you stand out? You stand out by being different. Now, to stand tall, the other little phrase in our topic today, to stand tall, obviously it has a direct meaning. That just means to have a good posture, to stand up with your head high, standing up nice and straight and tall. So you're as tall as you possibly can be, right? But it also has, it's kind of an idiom. To stand tall means to stand in a proud way without fear, right? To stand tall, right? The opposite would be to bend over. All right, I'm going to start banning everybody who's commenting in other languages. Sorry, guys, I warned you. 1 second. Okay. So to stand tall, right, is to stand up in a a proud way, right? The opposite would be to like bend your shoulders over, right? In my lessons, often I'll say, stand up, stand tall, right? Before you listen, because it puts you in a strong position, your body. It's a strong posture, it's a strong body position. With your shoulders back and your head up, you're standing tall. Right. So, and it has, of course, that's the direct meaning, but it has this idea of not being afraid, right? When you're not afraid, you stand up, you stand tall, right? When you're strong, when you're confident, you stand tall. So stand out and stand tall, right? Stand out and stand confidently, be confident. Confident people usually are people who stand out because most people are not very confident. That's just the truth. Most people are not very confident. Most people just follow the crowd. Most people do what everyone else does. So they kind of fit in, right? Most people want to fit in. This is kind of the opposite of stand out, to fit in, right? You kind of hide in the group. You're the same as everybody else, right? So if everybody else is saying something, then you'll say it too, just so nobody will notice you, right? And the reason most people are afraid to stand out. Most people are afraid to be different. Why? They're afraid of criticism, right? They're afraid people will notice them and criticize them or say something bad. So it's fear. Fear. This is usually the reason people don't stand out. This is the reason most people will not be different. They just try to be the same as everybody else. Here's the problem. If you are the same as everybody else, you will get the same results as everybody else. You're not going to be more successful. You're not going to achieve your dreams. You're not going to achieve your goals by hiding, by trying to be the same as everybody else, right? This is obvious. A few examples. In a job interview situation, let's imagine, again, 100 people applying for one job, right? You're trying to get the job. It's a good job. It's a job you want. 99 other people want the same job. Most people, what do? They do the same things. They will send in a cover letter and a resume, maybe do the application, right? And they just send it in one time. That's all. That's what most people will do. The other 99 people, that's what they will do. And if you look at the cover letters, if you look at the resumes of those 99 people, those other 99 people, they will basically be the same. They will look almost the same. They'll be organized in almost the exact same way. They'll be written in a very, very similar way. And so now you want the job. 99 other people doing the same thing. Well, what happens? What if you do the same thing also? You also do the same thing. You send in your letter and your resume one time. CV, resume, same thing. You send it in just one time. That's all. And you follow the same style, just like all the books recommend, just like everybody else. Will you get a job interview? Maybe, but your chance is quite low. Why? Because you're the same as everyone else. You're not standing out at all, right? Everything looks the same as everybody else. So your chances of success, in this case, your chance to get a job interview, are not very good. They're pretty low, right? Like 1%, let's say, if everybody is pretty much equal. Right? If the other 99 are mostly qualified also. Well, that sucks. Those are terrible odds. That's terrible. And this is why, you'll hear people there about when they're job searching, they send out 100 resumes, 200. Sometimes you'll hear crazy stories, people sending out 300 or more cover letters and resumes, 300 different jobs. Some people do this. That's one way to do it, right? If your chances are very low, like 1%, well, then you have to do a huge number, and hopefully you'll get a job interview from one of them finally. So that's the point. On the other hand, if you stand out, you can see that your chances of success become much, 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 much bigger, right? If you, instead of sending your letter and resume one time, you send a different letter. You send a series of letters. You send 5 letters over several days or weeks with your resume. And your letter has a different style. It's quite different than the normal, right? It's more powerful, more interesting. And your resume also, a bit different than everybody else's. Stronger, more powerful, more interesting. And maybe you call them up. You call them on the phone a couple times. Try to talk to the hiring manager directly, right? So you do all these different things to be different, to stand out. Now your chances go up. It's not a guarantee, but now you stand out. Now you are clearly different than the other 99 people. You will be noticed. Now your chance of success to be noticed, instead of 1%, maybe now it's 40%, 30%, something like that, right? So you can see you don't need to send, to apply to hundreds and hundreds of jobs if you do this, because your success rate will be much, much, much higher. You can focus just on the jobs that are the best, just on the jobs you really, really, really want, right? You get the idea. So that's the point with job interviewing. It's pretty clear. Well, guys, it's the same in the social world, right? With in your life, in terms of being happy, in terms of having good quality friends, in terms of having good relationships, all of these things. Most people will just go along and have the same opinions about everything, and they follow the crowd. They follow what the TV tells them to. They're afraid to say anything different. And so they're like everybody else. Most people are kind of depressed, kind of weak. Their friendships are not very strong, not close. There's not a lot of honesty. There's not a lot of trust. If you want higher quality relationships, stronger friendships, better quality, then be different. How? Maybe be more direct about your opinion. Be honest, like we talked about 2 days ago. Tell the truth. Tell the truth. Always tell the truth, even when it's not popular. Say the truth. Be truthful. Be honest. You don't have to do it in a hard way. Some people, are very direct and strong. You can be very soft about it, but still tell the truth in a soft way. You get the idea. Well, let's talk about business now, because I want to recommend a really good marketing book. Sometimes I get, a lot of you guys are interested in starting a business, or maybe you have started a business already, and people ask me, what marketing book do you recommend? Today I'm going to give you my number one recommendation for a marketing book. So anytime any of you plan to start a business, get this book and read it and follow it. This is from the great Dan Kennedy. Okay, this is one of the all-time great marketing teachers, coaches. Really, really, really good. I think he's still alive, but he's been doing this for a long, long, long time, before the internet and with the internet. The guy's fantastic. So I'm going to read you. He talks about this section I'm going to read. He talks about why so many businesses fail. He talks about why most businesses have bad marketing. Most businesses waste a lot of money on marketing. Most businesses lose a lot of money on marketing, and most businesses, their marketing fails, right? It means their business doesn't succeed because of the marketing. In fact, they lose money. We all know that most new businesses fail. A huge number of them fail, and their marketing is terrible. So this is why. I'll show you the quote. Let me give you the book title too. All right, book title. Okay, he has a series of books with the same title. Okay? The beginning is No BS Direct Marketing. No BS Direct Marketing by Dan Kennedy. Now, he probably has like 6, 7, 8 books with this same title, different specialized categories. So you might check them all out and choose the ones that sound good to you. But this one is called The Ultimate No Holds Barred Kick Butt, blah, blah, blah. This is for non-direct marketing businesses. What does that mean? This is just for regular businesses, kind of normal, usual businesses. Some people have direct marketing businesses, like more like internet businesses. All right, I'm going to ban somebody else. God, you guys, what is going on today? If you spam my channel, you get blocked. All right, sorry guys, annoying. So non-direct marketing business, this category, this book is the No BS Direct Marketing. No BS means no bullshit. Remember I taught you guys bullshit before. It means nonsense. So it means no nonsense. It's 100% useful stuff, and it's for just normal businesses, non-direct marketing businesses. Here's why they fail. He says the reason for the cluelessness. Cluelessness means like the failure. Okay? When you go into a business you're in, you probably look around at what everybody else in the business was doing. It's actually past tense. I'll switch to past tense. And copied it. Gradually, you've tried to do it better, but not radically different, just better. So you have everybody, listen to this sentence. You have everybody in an industry standing in a circle, looking inward at each other, ignoring anyone or anything outside the circle. Everybody slowly gets dumber and dumber and dumber. All successful people do something very different. They deliberately go far afield from their peers in search of something different. Not just a little bit better, but different ways of marketing. All right, let's go back to and I'll explain what this means. Okay, he's saying you, meaning just people. Why do people fail so much with marketing? Why is the marketing so bad? What do people do? He says basically people, they join a business, let's say the restaurant business, and they go into the restaurant business. What do? They look at all the other restaurants, maybe in their city, and they look at what are they doing? How are they advertising? How are they marketing? And then they basically just do the same thing. They copy what everyone else is doing. Maybe they try to make it a little better. Maybe they try to improve it a little bit. But basically they do the same thing as everybody else. And the other restaurants are doing the same thing. They're also looking at all the other restaurants. So everybody's looking at everybody else and just copying each other. So they all finally do the same thing, the same kinds of advertising, the same kinds of marketing. They're all doing the same thing. And because of this, he says they get dumber and dumber and dumber. This means stupid. They get stupider and stupider and stupider. They're not learning anything. They're just copying each other, just doing the same thing over and over again and again and again for years and years and years. And then maybe a new person comes, and they start a restaurant, and they do exactly the same thing. They just look at it when everyone else is doing, and they copy them all, and it's the same result. And this is why they're all getting terrible results. Nobody stands out. Nobody's standing out. Then he says, well, what about the successful people? What do? They do the opposite. Successful people do the opposite. So they come in, and they come in, and they don't copy what everyone else is doing. They don't look at all the other restaurants. They look at maybe completely different businesses to get ideas. They read completely different kinds of books about marketing, about advertising. Maybe they study internet marketing. Maybe they just study things. They're constantly looking for things that are very, very different. They're constantly looking for ways to stand out, to be very different than the others, right? So they start a restaurant. They look at the other restaurants, what they're doing for marketing, and then they try to do something totally different. They start looking for very, very different ideas. And they try different ideas. Some fail, but many succeed. And these are the guys that win. These are the ones that are indeed very successful. And so, it's true in all areas of life, actually. This same thing. This is what people do. They come in and they just try to copy everybody else. So then you have everybody is copying everybody else. And so they all get the same result. It's just like the job interview example I was talking about. And so if you want to succeed in business, you have to do it in a very different way. So follow his advice. Get that book. If you're interested in business, if you are interested in marketing, get that book and read it. The No BS Marketing. It's called No BS Direct Marketing. Dan Kennedy is his name, by Dan Kennedy. Okay. All right, that's all. Let's get into questions and comments if you have them. All right. Kumipon says... Oops, sorry. Japanese people want to do the same thing as everyone else. There's a lot of peer pressure. Makes me tired. Just ignore it. But this is an opportunity. This is what you have to realize. This is an opportunity. It's a huge opportunity in any area of life. If everybody else is, really, really, really doing the same, it means it's much easier to stand out. It's much easier to be different. It's not hard at all. If everybody else is afraid to do it, then if you do it, you will easily stand out. So you've got to look at the positive side of it. It's very, 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 very good. It's a good situation, actually. Vladislav says, I've heard one phrase says, in business you should choose a difficult way because that way you won't meet a rival. Not necessarily difficult, but different. Different. You've got to be different. You've got to stand out. That's psychologically difficult for some people. It is. And like Yasin says, it's easy to stand with the crowd. It takes courage to stand alone. Right. It takes courage to stand out. It's no big deal, actually. I mean, usually nothing bad's going to happen at all. It's just psychological. People are trained to be afraid. Usually from school. Because usually in school, when you stand out, you get teased or bullied, and so people get this deep fear of doing it, but really it's a foolish fear. Slavika says, when I started my private practice, my goal, she's a doctor, was to be financially independent, not make my services expensive for patients. Right? So you decided to do it in your own way. You had your own goals, do it in your own way. Be different. Ilana Khan says, I think that a route of being the same as everyone is in the education system. I agree. Like I just said, I agree, Ilana, exactly. I think it comes there. It's very easy to manipulate people. Like in Brave New World, the human source for industry, mostly without imagination or creativity. Yeah, I think that's where it comes from. I think for most people, that's where they get that it's irrational. Right? It's a foolish fear, but it's put into you at a young age in the school system. Yeah, like Carlos Miranda dos Santos says, in Japan they have a saying, the nail that sticks out gets hammered down. It's the opposite idea of standing out. Yes, that's right. But it maybe in Tokugawa, Japan, that was true, but it's not true now. Not true now. And, the other thing is you want to stand out, of course, in a good way, in a useful way. Right? Like, so just wearing your hair green, right? That's foolish. There's no point. Okay? So it's not, that's the other thing. You want to be smart. When I say stand out, when Dan Kennedy's talking about being different and effective. Okay? You want the two. Different and effective. Different and useful. Okay? Right? So it's easy just to be different in a foolish, stupid way, right? You can just, put something in your nose or put tattoos on your face, or you can do all kinds of crazy stuff that to look different, for example, but it doesn't help anybody. It just makes you look weird. So different in a useful way, in an effective way. Okay, I'm just going to jump down to the bottom here. Well, we got a lot of, I don't know what the deal is. A lot of spam in our comments today. Okay, could we do that book in a book club show? Asked Anise. I think it would be pretty boring for people who are not doing their own business. You know, like this section is nice. It's very general, useful, I think, for people in general. But the whole book gets very specific about how to do marketing for a business. Most people don't own their own business, so I think it would actually be kind of boring for most people. So, yeah, probably not that one. Yeah, here's another fan of Dan Kennedy. Asma says, I like Dan Kennedy. I'm starting to read Direct Marketing by him. Yeah, he's very good. He's very good. We say old school. He's an old school marketer. He's really good. Berlin says, Tony Robbins says, if we want to be successful, we have to find people who have already achieved the success and ask them how they did it. It's true in psychology and in business too. Yeah, and what Tony talks about is, see, you want to learn from people, but you don't just copy them exactly. This is the tricky part, I guess. That's a little difficult, because if you just try to copy them exactly, well, then now you're the same as them. You're not going to stand out. But you, like, so Dan Kennedy, you want to learn from him and quote, copy him, but you want to study him, model him, because this guy is really, really, really good at marketing. But you're going to do that marketing in your own way to fit your business, right? This is kind of how you do it. Slavika with a good point. You have to be honest in business. I listen to people first and then see what they need. I avoid drugs and invasive methods. See, this makes Slavika very different than most doctors. Very, 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 very different. Now, in the short term, might that have hurt her business a little? She's not pushing and selling drugs as much as other doctors. Maybe. But in the long term, she gets a reputation for being different. And this will build her business and give her very, very, very strong, customer patient loyalty. Is it enough to be well known so you may stop marketing and advertising yourself? Asked Ahmad Sleem. Perhaps, but I think for small businesses that's pretty hard to do. So pretty much, you want to measure your marketing if you're doing marketing, and so if your marketing is making money, there's no reason to stop. See, the reason people stop marketing is because they're losing money doing it, which means it's not effective. So if it's effective, then of course, why would you ever stop? I mean, look, even these giant companies, they never stop marketing, right? They're well known. Everybody knows Coca-Cola, but they still advertise, right? So no, I think in general, you will always be marketing. Now, for very small, very personal businesses, something like, like Slavika, who's got a doctor's practice, she has a limited number of patients. She can see probably, once she's kind of full and has a waiting list, and maybe she could stop marketing, right? But for most businesses, you're never going to stop. Leonardo Parigi says, the key to find a way to not be replaceable by someone else in all areas of life. Business, social life, friendships. Indeed, by standing out, by being different, by being unique. it means, right, it's hard to replace you. You're just very, very different than anyone else. No one else can, it becomes very hard or impossible for someone else to copy you too. Yes. Soy Jose Fitness says, I have my own social media business. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Do you recommend more focus on YouTube or Instagram? I don't know what you mean by a social media business. Like you, like your title, I'm guessing, is you do some kind of fitness thing. Like social media is not a business. It may be a marketing strategy, maybe. But, some people make money by advising others, but, yeah. So I guess you're asking for marketing purposes. Are YouTube or Instagram better? Well, I would do both. Test it. The real answer is you have to test it. Okay? This is something you should read Dan Kennedy's book, so you don't just guess. Test it. You've got to test it. How do you test it? Well, read the book, but there are ways to do this where you would do a campaign on YouTube and you would see, like, how many sales do you get from it? You do a campaign on Instagram. How many sales do you get from that? Either advertising or not advertising. And then you figure out which one actually pays better and where to focus. Maybe they both pay well. Maybe they're both good, and so you would do both. Maybe they both suck and you have to do something else. This is one of the key things that Dan Kennedy will teach you about marketing, is that you don't guess, you measure. How to be different? Well, there's many thousands of ways to do that. If there's one way to be different, then you're not different, are you? This requires a little thinking. It requires some creativity. It requires, I think honesty helps this, actually. I think honesty helps because the more honest you are, the more you will be yourself, right? When people when they're not honest, when they're afraid to speak up and say what they really think and what they really mean and do what they really believe, then what do? They're kind of copying everybody else. They're hiding. So then they look like everyone else. The more honest you are, the more direct you are, the more open you are about everything, it makes you different automatically. Yeah, like Anise says, think about the schools. They want all the kids to answer the same way. Maybe that's why the next generations will be the same. Maybe just 1% or less will be different. That's the entire point of the schools. Is they're factories to train people to think the same, to be afraid of standing out. Just trust the media. Don't go against the media. Don't go against what everyone else is doing. Hide. Don't stand out. That's what school teaches you. It's one of the central main messages of school. Olga says, "What? Okay, so what if you're different? What if someone tries to be like you? They try to copy you. What can you do? If you're different enough, they can't copy you. No one can copy me. No one can copy me. Why? Because I'm being myself, and I'm very, very honest and very, very open. They could try to kind of copy my style, but it wouldn't. It would look really fake, right? It just wouldn't work." Because one of the best ways is to be very, very, very personal. Very, very, very personal, meaning very open, very personal, not professional, like most businesses try to be, like kind of distant, right? Instead, that's why one of the reasons I'm very, very open about everything and about my opinions. And, like I'll talk about the virus and how the whole lockdown was fake and stupid. Why do I talk about stuff like that? Well, one reason is just, that's the honest truth. So I'm just going to say it. I guarantee like 90% of the English teachers out there are afraid to even talk about that. And if they do talk about it, they say the same thing that the news is saying. They say the same thing everyone else is saying. Even if they don't believe it, they say it because they're just afraid to be different. They're afraid to talk about any topic, so they just talk about the same stuff, right? So the more you're just yourself and you're really open about everything and who you are and very personal, and it becomes almost impossible to copy you. Like, no one can copy Tony Robbins. People try to get his style and to do all that stuff, but no one can be him, really. Everyone else just looks foolish. People who try to copy Tony Robbins, they look like they're a bad copy of Tony Robbins. They can never do it as good as he can. Why? Well, because he's doing it. That's him. That's who he really is. Okay? So people who try to copy him, they just look like, like a bad copy. Nobody wants a bad copy of someone else. They want the original. So this is why you don't need to worry about it, Olga. Don't worry. If others try to copy you, it means you're being successful, and they're probably going to fail. Susanna Feely says, I have a small business with a friend here in Argentina. We have high inflation. And Argentina has been just hit by the globalist bankers again and again and again for so many years. It's fucking terrible what they've done to you. And makes it extremely difficult to go on. Sometimes we think in giving up. It's hard. I don't know about how to deal with that specific situation of very, very high inflation unless you can if you can put your prices in a different currency. I don't know if you can do that, like charge dollars or charge yen. With some of these online processors or something, you might be able to do that. But I don't know. I'm sorry, I can't help you very specifically. I don't know the situation and the rules and everything in Argentina. But the key thing is you probably need to find a more stable currency if you can. And if not, then I don't know. I guess you got to keep raising your prices. It sucks. Amal says, I'm a student. Since I was a little child, I try to do things differently. Actually, I can't do or say the same thing that other people do because it tires me. Good. You're probably going to do well in life. You'll do well. Just remember to, be different in a useful way, in a helpful way. In business world, don't try to fake it until you make it, says Jawahar. I tried it for 4 years. It didn't work. I wouldn't say fake it. I would say learn. Right? That's what you do in business. You learn. Now, hopefully, if you tried it 4 years ago and it didn't work, well, did you learn anything? Maybe you learned enough, and then next time you'll do better. Amina says, I disagree with what Amina says here. AJ, in the job, we have to pretend like we know everything. No, you don't. Because if we said we don't know even some silly things, they'll get you out of the job. Well, you should change job. You work at a bad company then. You just have a bad job, that's all. Because in a good job, any decent job or company, they don't want you to pretend if you don't know what you're doing. That's terrible. If you don't know, you just say I don't know how to do this. I'd say do the opposite. This is another way to stand out. If everybody else is pretending that they know, but then they don't, so then what do? They make mistakes then. And then they lie about it, and it's all a bunch of nonsense and bullshit. People know, right? The bosses will figure this out. Everybody knows. Instead, just be open. Like if they ask you, if someone's talking about something and you don't know what it is, say, what's that? I don't know what that is. Don't be ashamed. I don't know. Those are 3 nice words. Those are very powerful, useful words. very honest words, okay? Never be afraid to say that. If you don't know, just say you don't know. There's nothing wrong with it. I don't know. But you're right. A lot of people are afraid to say those words for some reason. I think, again, it goes to schools. That's where I guess it comes from. But in real life, it's better just to say you don't know instead of trying to pretend and say a bunch of lies and all that nonsense. Just say, I don't know. I don't know, or I don't understand this. Just be honest about it. That's all. And then you'll find out. That's how you learn. And then you'll get better and better and better. And people will trust you then, especially people who you are working with, your bosses, people like that will begin to trust you more because they'll realize, you're not gonna lie and say a bunch of nonsense. That if you don't know, you won't pretend. You'll just say it. And if you're not good at something, you'll just say, I'm not good at that. I don't know how to do it yet. People respect that eventually. It's good long term. It will help you. Marvin Poik says, I want to be honest with my customers in my business and say the truth. Yeah, of course. Be honest with your customer. Of course, definitely your customers. You want to be honest with them. Absolutely. Vladislav says, I imagine, what if everyone was red-pilled and virtuous? What would life be like? Yeah, I don't know. Not too worried about what everybody else is. It's not going to happen in our lifetime, so no worries. Okay. Yeah, Shah Mahdi says, one thing you said before was that when you are in a job interview, you are in a marketing process. Yes, you are. The product you are selling is yourself. That sticks to my mind. Absolutely. And that's why I said this book actually could be useful if you read that book, that Dan Kennedy book, and if you kind of, were creative, you could get a lot of good ideas from that book and adapt the ideas to your job search. I think you would really be different, and I think it would help your job searching a lot. Leonardo Parigi says, exactly. Honesty is essential. I used to make no bones with anyone. Be yourself always. It helps a lot. Yes, absolutely. That's right. We should read Purple Cow by Seth Godin, says Ken. That's a book about standing out. And that is a better book for our book club because it's more general, not just business. That one I will consider. Purple Cow's a good one. Okay. Let's see. Do you think to show our business? Okay, let's see. Katie says, do you think to show our business, the best way is to make it free at first or advertising with other successful popular companies? Okay, this is so... it really completely depends on what business you're doing. So it's very hard to say, Katie. I don't know. Selling something online is very different than doing a restaurant. That's very different than manufacturing, So I can't say. This is very, very too specific. Some businesses, it does help to give away a free sample, right? Obviously, a lot of businesses do that, and it can be successful. And advertising, of course, can be very successful also. Partnering with other successful companies can be successful. So here's the thing. The number one thing, and this is one of Dan Kennedy's big messages, is that you've got to measure. Okay? So one of the big problems people have in marketing is they just guess. They're just guessing. Like, okay, this is a good example. So you have maybe these 3 ideas: normal advertising, free samples, partner with another company. Which one's better for you? I have no idea. Maybe you have no idea. So what do? Try one. Let's say free samples. Try free samples. You'd have to, you set it up so that you can measure. You give out a bunch of free samples, maybe with a coupon or something in it, and then you see how many come back and actually buy something from you. Now you have some real numbers. How much did they spend? So now you know the result of the free samples. And how much did the samples cost, right? You can look at all of this and you get an idea of how successful was that campaign. Then you try some like regular advertising, let's say a newspaper. I don't know. You put a normal ad in a newspaper. You put your little coupon in the newspaper now. Again, people come in, they use the coupon and they buy something, right? And of course, the advertising costs money. So now again, you have information. How much did the advertising cost? And then how successful was it? How many people came and bought something? How much did they spend? Now you can compare those two. The free samples, the cost of the free samples compared to the result. How many people bought from you? How much money did they spend? And then the newspaper advertising. How much did the newspaper advertising cost compared to how many people bought? How much did they spend? And then these numbers then will give you hopefully a clear idea of maybe one of them is very effective and the other not. Maybe they're both effective. Great, do both. Maybe they both suck and you lose a lot of money, or not a lot, but you don't risk a lot of money, but it's just a test, so you try to use small amounts. But maybe your test is they're both very successful and you get a lot of people come in and buy. Then great, you'll continue doing both. So this is how you actually figure things out. See, a lot of people just guess like, I'm just going to spend $5,000 on advertising. I have no idea. And then they do it. And then they have no idea after, did it work? They don't know. They don't really know. They have no idea how many people saw the ad. Maybe they get some basic numbers from the newspaper. They have no idea how many people saw the ad and then came in and bought something because of the ad. So this is why Dan Kennedy's book is so great. It will teach you how to do this very specifically. So then you're not guessing. You're actually know for sure which one of these is the best. Leonardo says, can you make a live show related specifically how to stand out in job interviews? Super interesting. Yeah, I can do that. A lot of it is, I can give some very general advice about it. Yep. Because I'm not, going through every single possible question. I can't do that. It's too much. But yes, it's a good. We'll do one of those. Okay, a couple more and then time to go. Yeah, Slavika is exactly right on this. My advice: if you start a business, start with a little investment, right? A very small risk and no credit. Don't imagine you'll get rich. Just be independent. Great advice. That's great advice, especially for your first business. If you're very experienced, you don't need this advice. But most people, they're just starting their first business. Don't risk huge amounts of money in your first business. Follow what Slavika said. It's good advice. Heba says, do you know anything about internal marketing? What does it mean? What does that mean? That sounds like some big corporate thing. I think it means like propaganda to the employees inside of a big company. I don't know anything about it. I absolutely hate working for big companies. It's probably a bunch of nonsense, is my guess. But I'm sorry I can't help you. I'm not sure what that is. See, I don't know. All right, a couple more, and then we're going to end it. Oh, can you say the name of the book again, please, Crystal? Yeah, it's called No BS. No BS, the letters BS. No BS Direct Marketing. No BS Direct Marketing by Dan Kennedy. He has a whole series of books in that with that title. Jawar says, in my country, small businesses are growing very fast, especially home businesses. Yeah, that's great. Almost in each family, there's a member who has his own business. Yeah, that's fantastic to hear. That's really good. Really good. They're competing with big stores and companies, but they're using social media and the internet for marketing. Yeah, great. Good to hear. Yeah, Akos is exactly right about Donald Trump. I think one of the reasons Donald Trump won the election is he stood out. He didn't play in the old, boring, politically correct way as everybody else. It confused his opponents, and he won. Yes, it's definitely one of the reasons he won, and it's the reason he's probably going to win again. Yep, absolutely true. He's very, 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 very different. It makes sense, you know. He's a successful businessman. He's not a normal politician. Okay. I guess we are about done. Where am I from in the America? What state? Georgia. Originally from Georgia. Yeah, here we go. Vladislav has put the title in the comments. Vladislav here says, No BS Direct Marketing. And the writer's name is Dan Kennedy. Dan Kennedy has a lot of books about marketing. If you're really serious about having your own business, you could read several of his books. They're all very good. Do I believe Trump will be president again? Yes, I believe he will win. I think he's going to win big. Alita says, when you want to start a business, it's definitely a wrong idea to think only about money. When you have an interesting product or service, the money comes automatically. Unfortunately, that's not true. But if you focus on money, you will fail. You have to do both. You have to focus on, you're half right. You want an interesting, useful product or service. That's part one. Yes, of course, definitely. That is very important, and it's true. Yes. However, it's not enough. You have to know marketing. Most businesses. You have to sell. This is where most people fail, in my opinion, from what I've seen, that they are afraid to sell. They're too shy to sell. They're too shy to stand out. They're not confident about selling and marketing. And so they might have a good product. They might have a good service, but nobody knows about it. When you're new, nobody knows who you are, right? Like, let's say if you have an internet business, you have a website. It's a great website, and you're selling some cool thing. How will they find you? Nobody knows about you. So that's why you need marketing. Without the marketing, no one will find you. Let's say you open a restaurant in a city. Well, maybe if you get a super great location, a lot of people will find you because it's on a busy street. And your restaurant looks awesome. It looks great. But all that is very expensive, right? It's going to be expensive to have a great location, not cheap. And to decorate your restaurant and make it look amazing, that's also not cheap. And that is marketing also, by the way. How your restaurant looks is definitely marketing. from the outside, right? That attracts people. But imagine you don't have much money, and maybe your new restaurant is not on a busy street. It's not busy. It's in a small little street somewhere else. And, you know, maybe the decoration's nice, but not super nice because you don't have a lot of money. But the food's great. Well, how will people find you? Maybe the food's great, but if no one finds your restaurant, you're going to fail, even if the food's fantastic. So that's where you need marketing. How are you going to bring people into the restaurant so they try your food? And then they try it and they love it. That's great. They start telling other people. Great. But you have to get them in first, right? You've got to get them into your store somehow, into your restaurant somehow. And that's marketing, and you must learn it, and you must get good at it. Anybody who's doing it. Okay, I think that's all, guys. All right, that's it. Good. So, stand out, stand tall, and again, get this book by Dan Kennedy. It's called No BS Direct Marketing. No BS Direct Marketing. It's good. It's not only good for business. I think it's just got some great ideas for job searching too. I really do think that, and you know, most people have to do job searching at some time. Job searching, job interviewing. I think you could. It's not about that topic, but if you're creative, you could learn a lot from this book and use it in your job searches, and so that you would be very, very different when you're searching for a job, and therefore, I think have a lot more success. All right. Lots of love to you all. And get my business English course also. I teach you a pretty cool, powerful method for job searching and your career in my business English course also. Go to effortlessenglishclub.com, and I will see you next time. effortlessenglishclub.com.